Hey, girl boss. Sorry we haven't talked since high school. Welcome back to Bad Boss Detox. We've got an amazing business opportunity for you. And it won't require an upfront investment in merchandise you can't sell. It's this week's episode on some of the most toxic jobs of all. Multi-level marketing schemes.
Mm-hmm. So
How
how was
are
your
you?
trip to your mom's?
I went basically to go to the Biltmore. Like, we had never been to the Biltmore. We wanted to take a little trip to the Asheville area because that's like just a sweet spot for us. We love little cabins up there and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And so we were going to do that and went with my mom to the Biltmore and did the whole thing. And it was lovely and we had a great time. But the fucking Gilded Age, man, those people were disgustingly rich. The Vanderbilts.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Biltmore?
I have not been to Biltmore.
It is like freaking Versailles. It
I've
is
seen
enormous.
Yeah, I've seen pictures.
Yeah.
I've seen it because I've been to Asheville a bunch of
Mhm.
times, but I've never gone there.
There's a winery. The winery's really nice. So anyway, we had a good time.
Oh,
So how are you doing in general? I haven't seen you in a minute.
I am great. I keep having moments of elation just because I don't have to deal with Crazy Train anymore. Like I'm
I'm so
still
glad.
Yeah, it's still crazy. I still have there are moments when I have to not drive by her house when I'm going to my other boss's house. Like I have to make a conscious effort to use the other street when I'm going there because I used to always go up her street and then go. And I'm so tempted to log into shit to see how she's doing.
Yeah.
But I actually ran into the guy who lives in the apartment above the garage, and he's lived there for 12 years.
Yeah.
I ran into him at my alterations lady. He also confirmed that she is still crazy. Anyway, I'm great. Sounds like you're doing great. We're both doing
pretty great. Yep. I am excited to talk to you and talk about MLMs because I don't know. This is another topic that just kind of endlessly fascinates me.
Well, and
I like watching the exposés.
I think I
these.
told you when I first brought this topic up that I thought this could even be a whole season.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple things I added to today's outline that are just I just found them today. I wish I'd had a month to research this because everything I looked up opened another rabbit hole. It's like there's holes all over the place.
Yeah.
This shit's crazy.
Yeah, MLMs are crazy. I almost got recruited to one at one point, and my friend who I went to her and said, hey, I would love to make some more money on the side. Tell me about these essential oils. And she was like, girl, just don't.
Money is tempting. And I've been tempted by MLMs multiple times. And I know people who are involved in them. And when I was still working for that Crazy Train, right towards the end, she was all excited because she had made some friends.
Mm-hmm.
And she sent me an email asking me if the chiropractor or the gym where I work would be interested in these patches that she was buying from one of her new friends. She copied her quote unquote friend on this email to me. And her friend came back with this super bubbly, oh, it's so nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. And I said to her, not her friend, I said to Crazy Train, I said, that's an MLM and I want nothing to do with an MLM. And she was like, I don't know what that means.
Well,
a lot of people don't know what that means.
I mean, when you brought this up, I was kind of like, oh, yeah, obviously the most toxic thing possible.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I feel like is out there now as something to be wary of. But I think maybe people aren't necessarily aware of all of the warning signs, and you can definitely get in too deep.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it can be bad. I watched the documentary yesterday that was called Betting on Zero. It was one of those health supplement ones.
Well, there's a million of those.
Anyway, forgot
But
the name of it.
We'll get into it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right, let's do the thing.
All right.
Okay.
MLMs could fall under at least two of our upcoming topics, Katie. Get-rich-quick schemes and culty jobs.
Ooh.
So I binge watched the 4-episode docu-series called Lula Rich.
Yeah,
Have you
I've
heard
seen
of
that one.
LuLaRoe?
I didn't know who they were before I saw the doc, but I have seen it. It is crazy.
The wives from what's that show with the guy that has all the wives, Sister Wives, they all were into
really?
LuLaRoe. Yeah. So I listened to a lot of podcasts, and two of the ones that I listened to did interviews with the same woman. Roberta Blevins, I think is her name. It's later. I'll bring it up later in here. And she talks about how she was, roped into this great opportunity for, building your income. And man, I was so surprised. Did you watch Lula Rich?
Mm-hmm.
I was so surprised at multiple things. I was surprised about the one woman who, in her spiel for her people, her downline to do better, that she was like, your kids can eat cereal for dinner. And then she backpedaled and said, I mean, not every night. And the owner of the thing, who's always, a blonde woman with her, no sock wearing husband with his dress pants and no socks and his little Sebagos. They always look the same. The owners of the MLM, they're always, they look like televangelists. And she made a comment
that I think that should not be discounted as a similarity.
Not at
televangelists
all. She suggested
have something in common.
She suggested that these women sell their breast milk to buy their kits, because the LuLaRoe kits, they're like $5,000. And the whole thing about being on a waiting list, you get put on a waiting list and you're like super anxious to get called. And one woman was at her bridal shower and took the call and was so excited, or her baby shower or some sort of shower, took the call to become a Lula Rich or LuLaRoe, sorry, distributor. Like crazy things that hyper evangelical woman that runs the thing suggesting that you just get down on your knees for 5 minutes a day and your husband will let you do anything.
I have 5 minutes.
Well, I mean, that's what she said. I don't know. The husbands quitting their jobs and then they buy these giant houses and then
with no furniture.
It's insane. It is alarming to me how often these MLM companies keep secrets from their people. What are they called? Distributors.
Whatever they call them in the MLM.
They have all kinds of different names. Brand ambassadors. They will change their structure overnight. So you've bought this giant house, you've bought this car, your husband quit his job so that he can work for you. And then overnight, this company says, oh, we're going to change the way we structure because we are breaking the law essentially by focusing on recruitment. So they very last minute change the structure to we're only going to make money on sales, which is unfair. And speaking of what they call each other, fun fact, MLM women are referred to as Huns.
Really? Like
short for honey. Not like Attila the Hun, but short for honey.
Okay.
So that's hey Hun is one of the things that they say. So
yeah. See, I've always gotten like, hey girly pop, hey girl boss.
One of the articles I read was called "You're Not a Girl Boss, You're Being Scammed." So anyway, they will overnight drastically change things. In the documentary, when LuLaRoe was accused of being a pyramid scheme, the commission checks were all of a sudden cut down by 95% with no warning. So you've gone from being top tier, you're making $40,000 a week, to being lucky if you're making that in a year.
Yeah.
Many of them have done it super quick, super shady, just to get out of hot water. They have to look like the income is based on product sales and not recruitment.
All right. So what actually is an MLM?
An MLM, or a multi-level marketing company, also referred to sometimes as direct sales or network marketing, since MLM became sort of a bad word in many circles, is basically selling shit to your friends and trying to convince them that they can get rich by doing it too, under your guidance, of course. Okay, that's not the real definition. But what is real is that this is not the small business your high school friend you haven't heard from in 20 years is trying to sell you. MLM is a multi-billion-dollar industry. The companies behind these home businesses are enormous, and they may or may not be in the pockets of some government officials. There is a association, the Direct Selling Association, or DSA, is the National Trade Association for companies that market products and services directly to customers through an independent entrepreneurial sales force. And as one of these women said in her book, it is a self-governing and self-serving organization, like the NRA being in charge of gun control.
Yeah. So that's shady.
Mm-hmm.
Multi-level marketing is a strategy used by companies to sell products directly to consumers through a network of independent sales representatives. So they basically rely on recruitment and what's called a downline. A lady at church pulls Nancy aside and says, "Oh, Nance, I've never felt better in my life." And of course, Nancy says,
"Oh, that's wonderful. What's your secret?"
"Oh, it's easy. It's these patches. I stick them on my skin at night and I sleep like a baby. And the best part is I get paid for it." So Nancy signs up for her friend's downline and buys a kit to try and start selling the products.
And the cycle goes on, and there is no shortage of the kinds of MLMs to choose from. You can own your own health and wellness business, beauty and skincare, home goods, knives and cutlery, fitness, candles, leggings. There are even adult toy MLMs. We found a guy online who will give you a free online boot camp on how to have a successful MLM business, which no doubt will lead to selling you his MLM marketing tools and possibly even an MLM marketing MLM.
It's M's and L's all the way down. It's MLM, MLM, MLM.
MLM.
MLM, MLM. Do, 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 do. Sounds more like an anxiety spiral, or maybe an anxiety pyramid.
So what is the difference between an MLM and a pyramid scheme? Nothing really, allegedly. But let's not get sued. An MLM is legal. A pyramid scheme is not. An MLM focuses on selling a product, while a pyramid scheme focuses on recruitment. Some MLMs will buy back inventory you can't sell, while a pyramid scheme won't. You've heard of a Ponzi scheme, right?
Yeah.
That's when someone has this great investment. They sucker you to write them a check, then they present you with a bigger check, but only after two other schmucks give them the same initial investment you did, because he gave their money to you, thus proving that he made good on your investment. This goes on and on until somebody goes to jail. But typically, whatever you were investing in never existed. With a pyramid scheme, there is a product, but the money was not made by selling the product, but by selling the business. The more suckers you have under you, the more money you make, and so on. With an MLM, you actually do have the opportunity to make money, but the studies show that only 25% of MLM business owners make any money from actual product sales. But even worse than that, overall, only 1% turn any profit at all, while 99% lose money. The same article where I saw this information said that only 39% of legitimate small businesses turn a profit over time. And when you do make money in an MLM, you are encouraged to put it back into your business. So there's still that cycle. The actual money still comes from recruitment, which circles us right back to pyramid. So lots and lots of these companies wind up in lawsuits, which is probably why the YouTubers like to use rhymes for the company names when they are talking shit about them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So who is likely to join an MLM and why? Well, MLMs have been around as long as Avon, because Avon is an MLM that started in the 1920s. There is some discrepancy on the internet about which MLM was the very first MLM, but Avon was right up there, actually having been started in the late 1800s when the direct sales method was not yet a thing. Then came Mary Kay and Tupperware and Amway, which I know something about.
Mm-hmm.
Women had a harder time finding work, but boy, could they throw a party. So they'd throw an Avon party or a Tupperware party or the next thing. Their husband knew they were asking for a raise in their allowance to buy their kit and start their own business. So historically, MLMs have always attracted women. But in recent years, they've drawn a wider range of individuals seeking a flexible way to earn money, especially from their home or while raising children. Today, women make up 60% of MLM participants, most of whom have little to no experience in commission-based sales. Only 10% of those who join manage to earn more than $100 in profit.
And I want to clarify that a little bit because it's white women.
Yes.
MLMs are very white. And this was mentioned several times by the few non-white women in the LuLaRoe documentary. So when I looked this up, I found a book that I wish I had found a couple weeks ago. It's called Hey Hun, Sales, Sisterhood, Supremacy, and the Other Lies Behind Multi-Level Marketing by Emily Lynn Paulson. So I just read several interviews with her since I didn't have time to listen to her 10-hour audiobook. And wow. Emily, by the way, has a husband who does very, very, very well. So she was able to spend a shit ton of money to make herself look like she was making a shit ton of money. She quote unquote won a free Lexus by shelling out over $10,000 of her own money and drove it away drunk only to get a DUI. It wasn't until she realized that alcohol was fueling her success when she would sit and drink and text her friends and sell her products. I guess some people need to drink to be brave enough to reach out to your friends like that. She looked back at what she was doing, and she was faking massive success in order to get women who didn't have a husband bankrolling their dream of owning their own successful business to join her downline. This is like LuLaRoe saying, put it on 4 credit cards. She was also persuaded to use her own cancer diagnosis to coax people to join her downline.
Oh my gosh.
And sell in the name of charity.
Oh.
Yeah. So, why do many MLMs claim Christianity or appeal to religions? The evangelical-esque conventions with celebrity guests, Katy Perry and who's the other one? She won, she has a talk show now.
Oh, Kelly Clarkson.
Kelly Clarkson. They both performed at LuLaRoe conventions. Like, can you imagine how much money LuLaRoe had to pay them to get up in front of the crowd and sing to their people? That's crazy.
Well, the people at the very top make a lot of money. So.
I know. And 1980s TV preacher-like speakers give a very, very praise and worship service vibe.
Yes. Having grown up in the church as well, I did notice a similarity. In that culture and in that religion, women are encouraged to be stay-at-home moms and have lots of kids and stuff. And so this gives them a little bit of, you know, a small business to work on kind of on the side that's not full-time. You know, the flexibility that's offered with these businesses when you have kids, I see that appeal. In an MLM, you're told to walk the walk, spread the joys of these perfect leggings or this perfect lipstick. You have to tell your friends and spread the word. You can't give up. The payout will come. You can't leave. You also can't question the system. never question your faith or your downline. And heaven forbid you do question it, or worse, leave, because you become the enemy then, a backslider, or, as in Scientology, a suppressive person, so that the others don't listen to your logic. They're convinced that you are the bad guy. You didn't try hard enough. You didn't have the drive or the ambition. So yeah, they'll blame those people who are saying, I'm not being successful with these tactics that you've given me. They'll say that you're not hustling hard enough, or it's your fault because you're not blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
So they'll make you feel bad about it. To quote Captain Cassidy, the author of the article, An Overlapping Venn Diagram, Christianity and Multi-Level Marketing Schemes, when hope and desperation take hold of someone who already deeply distrusts what critics have to say about anything, then the pie-in-the-sky promises of both MLMs and many religions start sounding really good. Both groups can very easily disregard your well-researched and thought-out rebuttals to their beliefs or sales tactics, because they're both trained in such conversations. So yeah, interestingly, during the search on these comparisons, we found an article from the Gospel Coalition called Beware the Christian Pitch to Join Multi-Level Marketing, written by Will Anderson, who has a master's in theology, because churches are a place of networking, and it is a great way to, have a group to reach out to, and etc. So, unfortunately, a lot of church groups are where these things get started.
I was listening to a podcaster who does a lot of anti-MLM videos, and I just had her in the background today, and I heard her say faith manipulation today.
Yeah.
And it felt so icky, like the way people prey on people of faith. Like, I am not a Christian, but I speak the language, and people that I love are, and they are unfortunately easy to manipulate in the name of their faith. I learned that from the televangelism of the 80s and my own parents. So can you be successful in an MLM without it becoming your whole identity? No, probably not, but sure. We've known people who have done well in some of these MLMs. My friend from high school, I called her mom the Mary Kay Wonder. But back then, I didn't even realize that Mary Kay and Avon, you didn't know Tupperware was an MLM company. You didn't know what these companies meant, right? So I called her mom the Mary Kay Wonder, and she even had one of those pink Cadillacs. A guy I know, his wife made a killing as a Rodan and Fields distributor, or at least it appears so. I have a hard time saying distributor, or at least it appears so. I don't talk to her. Plenty of folks sold Amway and Tupperware, etc. But it's no passive income like many think. To actually make any money, you got to work your ass off. And you are strongly encouraged to portray yourself as living the dream. So even if you're dead broke, they want you on their vacations. They want you and encourage you to look like you're making money. So then they even go into debt. And there's a lot of startup. They can cost hundreds to even thousands of dollars just to get started. And like we said earlier, they recommend you use multiple credit cards or, get down on your knees.
Yeah, it's not a great plan.
No, it's pretty gross.
Well, when I went to see my mom this weekend, and so I was talking to her about some of the MLMs that were not identified as such, but were MLMs.
Yes.
That she worked for. And she worked for Amway before I was born, and another one called Christmas Around the World.
I never heard of that.
I'll tell you about it.
Okay.
So first we'll talk about Amway. So she said she was a little bit iffy about the way that Amway wanted them to recruit people. She said that the merchandise was kind of expensive, and it was harder to actually sell it, but it was good, and people liked it once they had it. It was just kind of expensive. But they were focused on recruitment, and their training was not to tell people what you're coming to their house to talk to them about. Just be vague and like it's a business opportunity and whatever. And then once they find out that it's Amway, people didn't like it and were immediately turned off by that.
Wow.
Yeah. And so she was like, well, that's shady. I don't like that. And so she got out of that company. But I will say the pots and pans that she sold in the 70s are still around. They still work until I burned the shit out of one
Was
of them.
Amway pots and pans? I thought Amway was like laundry detergent and stuff.
It was both, yeah. But yeah, we have pots and pans that are Amway brand.
Wow.
And they were made extremely well, and they've lasted until, like I said, I burned the shit out of it on my mom's induction cooktop that I didn't know how to use. But
well, isn't Cutco cutlery also an MLM? And that stuff lasts forever too.
I don't know.
I think it is.
Heard that one.
I think it is because Crazy Train did that when she was younger a little bit.
Well, the other one was Christmas Around the World, and my mom actually loved it. This was an example of her being pretty successful with it.
Mm-hmm.
The products, so it was basically, Christmas Around the World was selling Christmas decorations that were, world themed sometimes, but also just like cute Santa music boxes and stuff.
Huh.
And all of it was stuff that you don't need, but it was cute and it was made fairly well. And I still have some of the things that she sold from Christmas Around the World that still work. Like I have these little snow villages, and all I had to do was replace the light bulb, which is a light bulb. So, but she really liked it. She did great with that. The products sold the program. So you would sell the products to people, and then people would decide that they wanted to sell the products. It wasn't like focused on recruitment as much. But she said it was easier to recruit people because, the products were cute and people liked them. But Christmas Around the World did not survive because the guy that was in charge of it passed away and his daughter took over. It was just a lot more work for her because she had family and everything. The parties in the homes became less and less popular. So you had to be able to show what the little products did. Like a lot of them they moved and stuff, and you had to be able to show people what they do. She also won a bunch of trips. So the company paid for her to go to Alaska and to Brazil and to Greece and stuff. And so since that one was more about the products, she built it up in a year or so, and she was earning good money after that, plus earning trips. But yeah, so she had a good experience with it. It was just that the company ended up going out of business, and like I was in school later and stuff, and she decided to get out of it. But that was one, converse example to the ones that we're talking about now, that she had a totally fine experience with it.
Well, I used to love going to Tupperware parties when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
They were fun.
Yeah.
And there were snacks.
Pampered Chef was the most fun because there was food.
People still do Pampered Chef parties, and they do them online too now, which doesn't sound like any fun to me.
Yeah, the online thing doesn't sound as fun. That's the other thing. She said, well, all of the sales are done online now, and it's just not the same, So I think back in the day, you had a lot more of a shot at being successful with these things, but now it's so oversaturated that it's just not worth it.
Well, and I think too, what might be fun is one of the sex toy MLM parties. That might be fun.
I'm not mad at that.
No,
honestly.
I've been to, or I don't know if I've been to one. I feel like I've been to one that was like negligees and stuff. Like, I feel like I've been to maybe back when I was in my 20s, but also
like a lingerie party.
Lingerie, that's the word I was looking for, not negligee.
Yeah. Sorry.
So, are all MLMs bad? Of course not. But a lot of them do wind up in court. So often that we came across several law firms with online forms you could fill out to add yourself to certain lawsuits. But also, they will sue you for defamation or infringing on their territory. There are some pros to MLMs. Like I said earlier, there is a potential to earn money if you can build a successful downline, give your blood, sweat, and tears, and sacrifice your firstborn.
Yeah, but you also have to be one of the first on board to really be successful, because the way that this business model works, like eventually it's going to be oversaturated. Mm-hmm. Have you seen that episode of Schitt's Creek with the MLM?
I've never seen Schitt's Creek.
Oh, Schitt's Creek is so funny. But yeah, they moved to this small town, and the son, David, gets involved trying to sell this MLM. And like everyone in the town's like, oh yeah, I've already tried that. Like everyone in the town has already been burned by this MLM that he's trying to sell them. Yeah, because you just run out of people.
Oh yeah.
What's another pro?
Flexibility. While most do demand a lot of your time, it's not an actual 9 to 5.
Yeah. So my mom quit doing Christmas around the world once I was in school, and it became too much of a time commitment for her. Also, we moved at that time, and she lost our hometown network, so she was kind of starting over in the new city, and the market was already oversaturated there, so she had a harder time. Yep.
Well, I think also one of the things that works for these people that is like that other woman and my friend's wife, when you don't need money, when it's not like I need to make money, you can actually spend money to make yourself look like you're doing well. You can spend enough money. You don't have that need for more money to come in. Then you do better. You could build a better downline because you could spend more money on building your downline. It's a vicious cycle. There's also, some of them have low startup costs. This may or may not be true depending on the one you choose, but some startup packages cost thousands and some of them cost nothing. Most of them want you to spend money to look the part of a successful business owner.
I guess if you have never had a job and this is your first job and you want to learn skills about networking, I don't know. That's a stretch.
To me, it's more like harassment.
Yeah.
You've got to have that. You've got to have that gene that I don't have. That, I mean, it's hard enough for me to sort of put myself out there for the podcast to my friends, or when I have to raise money every year to do the breast cancer walk. That is miserable for me. Asking people to make donations, it feels like I make them hate me. Like, that's the way
I
it
was
feels.
a Girl Scout, so that taught me about knocking on strangers' doors and talking to them.
I'd rather go knock on somebody's door than post something and then have somebody else passive-aggressive post. I hate it when people post their blah, blah, blah.
That takes some cojones.
It does. It does, indeed. That's one of the things I was tempted with. I was tempted with Rodan and Fields when I saw my friend's wife doing so well at it.
Yeah.
It was tempting. But then I was like, I can't ask my friends.
I was tempted by Mary Kay because I went to a Mary Kay party and I actually really liked their products. And I was like, oh, maybe I could sell these. And then I just kind of thought about it and I was like, that's too much time. I don't want to do that.
Wait, I've seen Mary Kay and Avon, like, actual stores, like where I guess you've done so well with your Mary Kay or your Avon that you can rent a small space and stock it, and people.
I don't know about that because, okay, so the documentary that I watched yesterday was called Betting on Zero, and it was about Herbalife.
Yeah.
I looked it up. So one of the things that they did that's different from a lot of the other MLMs, you said they were very, like, predominantly white people that they would recruit. Herbalife got in trouble specifically for recruiting in the Hispanic community and preying on illegal immigrants because they are less likely to question.
They need to make money without having a social security number.
Yep.
Oh, that's a shame.
So yeah, it was really sad. And I don't know how. I don't know how that's turned out, but it was not great.
Well, there's one house we drive by in the country, and they have a little shed that they've kind of made into their little Avon store, and there's like a little sign that says Avon.
Oh, yeah. So I was going to say about the storefronts.
Oh, yeah.
I got distracted. Yeah, Herbalife did this too with the storefronts. So they would suggest that you open a health club and sell their shakes and whatever out of the health club and then try to recruit people at the health club to sell it with you. But that was even worse because the overhead, you had to pay the rent and the utility and everything to have the storefront. Right. And then you couldn't possibly charge enough for the shakes to pay back what they cost because it was already way overpriced. Yeah, it was just...
Well, there's like a lot of them, too. A lot of people who sell MLMs, who ask their friends who have businesses, like Crazy Train asking me if I would sell the patches where I work. And And like the dry cleaner where I go, there's a little stand with essential oils from one of the essential oil MLMs. And I think a lot of people who own places like that will get into MLMs because they have that place that they can just put it on the counter and hopefully people will buy it.
Yeah. But it's not about the products anyway, you know.
No, it's not about the products in most cases, but some of the products, like the older ones, like I said, Cutco, Tupperware. I love Tupperware. Mary Kay has good products.
Mary Kay has some good products. Christmas Around the World
Rodan
had
and
good
Fields,
products.
they're the same company as Proactive, which works great for a lot of young people with acne. So some of these companies, their product is good, and I guess that's why they stay around for all these years, whereas some of the other companies, they fall off. I remember buying some unique mascara from somebody, and it was, you know, the buildup was unbelievable, and I got this stuff and it just flaked all over my face. It was supposed to like extend your lashes. It was like this powder. It was and it was all over my face.
That sounds really unpleasant.
It was. Anyway, who is the boss when you're in an MLM? Is it you? It's you, but it's not you. You see, you're selling a product for someone else. You pay all your own overhead, like Katie just said, when you're trying to open a shop and put it in there. That's an unbelievable amount. You use your home, your vehicle. You provide yourself with insurance. And then if you do make any money, you got to spend that to look like the $1 million you're trying to convince other people they can make if they just buy a kit from you and join your downline.
Yeah. So really, the bottom line is that the money is coming from other people that you're scamming into joining the business. And in that doc that I watched yesterday, the Betting on Zero, there was a guy that had a storefront and he was like all in, and to the point where he realized that this was not sustainable, but he couldn't get out at that point. So he was really torn. You know, he didn't want to be responsible for recruiting his friends and family, but he had to make back his investment because he'd already signed leases and stuff, you know.
Lord.
It's a bad thing. So, how can you avoid getting trapped in a shady MLM? Well, watch out for out-of-the-blue messages from people you barely know, just in general.
Right.
That's great for avoiding scams of all kinds. And consider the amount of upfront investment. Because with any investment, if you can't afford to lose that amount of money, you can't afford to make that investment. It's not worth the gamble. Like, assume with an investment that money will disappear completely.
Yep.
And if you're not okay with that, then you don't need to be doing it. All new businesses take some upfront investment. But for voiceover, at least, the investment for me was mostly in training, which is more justifiable in my opinion. You know, I didn't have to immediately run out and buy all kinds of expensive equipment. I went and got trained before I did that.
Yep, me too.
So that I could see it was something I wanted to do. Also, another red flag, if there's a religious aspect to the business, tying faith to business can be a very dangerous thing. But I mean, you do you. I'm not here to judge anybody in their faith or lack of faith. But just know that connecting those two things can make it very complicated and sticky. And then, of course, read up and do your research. You have to stay salty and stay skeptical because there are a ton of scams out there, especially that prey upon freelancers, as Ivy and I know. You were telling me early in your auditions where you would get messages and you would get excited that you had a message, you know, and then you would look into it a little more and you're like, shit, that's a scammer. Yeah. So, yeah, they're out there, MLMs or not. Just be careful about people saying they can help you do marketing and start your own business and blah, blah. I got a phone call today from somebody that said, I'm from the voice recognition department, and I wanted to let you know that your business is not listed on the top 5 of the blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you're from the voice activation department of where?
Every fucking day.
And she goes, of GMS. And I was like, what's GMS? And she goes, it doesn't mean anything. It's just the name of the company. And I was like, it doesn't mean anything.
We just picked 3 letters.
We just picked random letters. It's like, you don't know what it stands for? Bye.
We are going to do an episode on get rich quick schemes.
Oh my God.
soon.
Yeah, yes, we need to.
Mhm.
And just, I think it'd be good to do an episode of like red flags for small business owners.
Yes.
Just in general, because like that shit is out there.
Yes.
So yeah, you had a good recommendation on the last one here.
So as far as, if you're interested or if you're considering joining an MLM or whatever it is being presented to you as, because it's very doubtful your friend from high school came to you and said, hey, I'm in an MLM. But if you are considering a fantastic business opportunity from someone you barely knew in the 8th grade, look up Hannah Alonso's YouTube channel. I don't know the name of the channel, but her name is Hannah Alonso, and she does a lot of YouTube videos about MLMs, and she really does her research. Emily Lynn Paulson's book and many interviews, I recommend that. I haven't read the book yet, but I want to. Sounds Like a Cult podcast is a fun podcast to listen to, and they have done several episodes on MLMs. Also, Trust Me podcast, which I'm very sad because they haven't put out a new podcast in months. I hope they're not gone. They did a 2-part interview with Roberta Blevins from LuLaRoe. They also did an episode interviewing Robert Fitzpatrick, who wrote a book called Ponzinomics, The Untold Story of Multi-Level Marketing. And you can also do what we did and just start Googling until you find yourself so deep in these rabbit holes that you are oddly disgusted and somewhat tempted by these alleged schemes. Schemes.
I am so bad because, and I think it's part of my gifted kid syndrome, where I'll see something where people will be like, only 1% are successful. And I'm like, that's me.
It's going to be me.
I can be the 1%. I'm so smart and capable. I can do it. And then I'm like, bitch, no, don't.
You are the 99%.
I'm in the 99th percentile, damn it. I can be the special one. Yeah. Only child. All right. Hell yes, Mad Libs.
Look, I am making use of AI like you would not believe here.
Listen, I love it.
All right.
Go for it.
Give me an adjective.
All right. Stinky.
A friend's name.
Bethany.
A number.
89.
Oh, good. Another adjective.
Pink.
Another adjective. A lot of adjectives here.
Squirrely.
A positive trait.
Gumption. I like that word.
I know. Another adjective. There's a lot of adjectives here.
Okay. Slimy.
A positive noun.
Pride.
Looks like, oh, that's a good one. I was going to say it looks like maybe a feeling.
Okay.
2 more adjectives.
Frightening and gassy.
Okay, a verb.
Waddle.
Waddle?
Yeah.
Like the duck waddles?
Yep. Yep.
A negative noun.
Butthole. This is harder than it seems.
And you're going to need to come up with still 3 more adjectives.
Okay.
All right.
Adjective number 1 or number 58.
Yeah.
Fluffy.
All right.
And curly.
Like curly fries, curly?
Yeah.
All
curly.
right. Last adjective.
Last adjective is sweaty.
Sweaty or slutty?
Which one? You want it to be slutty?
No, I don't know which
slutty.
one you said. It sounds...
I said sweaty.
Okay. And last one is a number.
261,000.
Ooh. All right.
I tried to be weirdly specific.
All right. Are you ready for this?
Hell yes.
All right. Subject line. OMG, Stinky Bethany, this could change your life.
Poor Bethany.
It's a letter. Hey, hun. Wow. Can't believe it's been 89 years since high school. I was just reminiscing about the pink days and thought of you because you were always so squirrely and had such a gumption. Even though we didn't hang out much, I always knew you'd do something big with your life. And guess what? I have a life-changing opportunity that is so you. I recently started my own slimy business, partnering with an incredible company that gives people pride, frightening income, and gassy freedom to build a future on their own terms. You need to hear this. It's a once-in-a-lifetime chance to waddle your life, break free from buttholes, and be part of a fluffy community of go-getters who support each other every single day. I need you in this. Let's reconnect. Just a quick 261,000-minute chat, and I know you'll be obsessed when you hear how curly this is. Are you free later today? Can't wait to hear all about your sweaty life. XOXO, girl boss.
Can't wait to hear all about your sweaty life.
How many hours is 261,000 minutes?
Oh my God. 525,600 minutes. It's about half of that. It's about half of half of a year. It's the 6 months.
Wow.
Musical theater math.
I love gassy
That was
freedom.
the best Mad Lib. That's the best Mad Lib we've done.
Break
Mad
free
Lib.
from buttholes.
Break free from buttholes. Hey, stinky Bethany. Like, this is definitely from that bitch that bullied Bethany in middle school and is now in an MLM.
Yeah. She was totally her bully, but she doesn't remember. She thought they were BFFs.
Can't wait to hear about your sweaty life.
Yes. Katie, do you have a vocab word this week?
I do. I have a vocab word.
Nice.
And it's on a different tab. Because I like to hide them from you.
Well, I hid the Mad Lib from you.
Yes, you did. This week's vocab word is specious.
Specious?
Yep. It is spelled S-P-E-C-I-O-U-S.
Okay.
Specious. Like spacious with an E. Yeah. It is an adjective. It means having a false look of truth or genuineness. Second definition is having deceptive attraction or allure.
Oh.
And the third definition, which is obsolete now, is showy. So the example sentence is, the specious promise of financial freedom quickly unraveled, much like her unsold inventory of moldy leggings. Fermenting in the guest room, she now calls her home office.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, I'm so sorry for your moldy leggings, sweaty Bethany, but you really shouldn't have opened that email.
Yeah, sweaty Bethany.
Stinky Bethany.
Go back to the buttholes. You don't need freedom that bad.
Break free from buttholes. What was the other one? Gassy freedom.
You don't need gassy
Just
freedom
letting her
that
rip
bad,
with
Bethany.
no remorse. Let your farts fly free, just like this investment.
You have the freedom to fart in this MLM.
We're pro farts here at Bad Boss Detox.
Absolutely.
You got to get it out of your system somehow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
All right. Wow, hun. Thanks so much for listening. Now, if you'll just call 12 people you didn't know in high school to share this amazing podcast with, we will give you this free gift worth $0. Another episode next week.
Yay.
Where can they find us,
share
Katie?
This with 12 people.
Right.
Yes. You guys can find our podcast everywhere you can listen to podcasts. If you would like to submit a listener story, we would be thrilled. We're a little short on listener stories. But yeah, if you have been in a bad toxic boss situation, please share your story with us. Our email address is stories@badbossdetox.com. You can also join our Facebook page, Bad Boss Detox, and our Instagram, Bad Boss Detox Pod.
Yep, and we will never share your details. Even if you share them, we will change them.
Yes. That is very important to us. We don't want to get anybody in trouble. So if the only thing holding you back from sharing your crazy story is that your boss might find out, she won't. She's not going to listen to this. She don't even remember you.
Right?
She's a bitch.
Yeah, you got replaced as soon as you walked out the door.
She forgot about your ass. All right, that's it for this week's episode. Be sure to join us next week when we'll be talking about some creepy, almost borderline cult-like jobs. Does your company put the cult in company culture? Find out next week on Bad Boss Detox.